Here we go. Hello, everybody. Kathy Caprino here. Welcome to Finding Brave. I've got a big smile on my face because I have two of my most favorite people in the whole world with me, and we are talking about everything having to do with LinkedIn today. And we've chatted, having a ball talking about what holds people back from promoting themselves on LinkedIn. You know, when there's so much information available and so many tips and strategies and videos and how-to guides, and yet we're looking at LinkedIn profiles every day and seeing people who are hiding, and we know we're going to talk about what that looks like. What we really want to do is help you, if this is you, get over the intense resistance to promoting yourself. Really, that's what we're doing on LinkedIn, aren't we, guys?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's bringing yourself to market, bringing yourself to the world. So that's what we're talking about. So let me tell you about my two favorite people in the personal branding and executive and career coaching world. So we have today William, Arruda, and Ora Shtull. Did I get it right, Ora?
Good enough.
All right. The co-founders of the amazing CareerBlast.tv, a personal branding plus platform for professionals who want to stand out and connect and succeed. And you have to connect in order to succeed, right? So William has been credited with turning the concept of personal branding into a global industry. Wow. That's high praise for you. He delivers personal and social branding keynotes all over the world. Aren't you on the road something like 100 days, maybe even 200?
More than that, yeah.
Oh my gosh. All over the world. William is the author of 3 books, or almost 3, right? Career Distinction, Ditch, Dare, Do. And that's how I met you. I came to your Ditch, Dare, Do.
You did, and that was so much fun.
Oh, that was
I didn't know
blast.
that.
I know. And our dear friend Nan introduced us all those years ago.
Oh, that's right.
And
Wow.
your upcoming Digital You book. William, I can't wait to hear about that more. Ora is a sought-after executive coach in New York City, built a stellar reputation over 20 years, helping leaders get promoted and land on the top most powerful industry lists. That's amazing. She's the author of The Glass Elevator, a guide to leadership presence for women. That's very needed. Women on the Rise, and the upcoming Power Up Your Personal Brand. So here we are.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you for joining me. All right, let us dig into, and we're going deep here. First of all, my favorite thing to do, let's talk about why is LinkedIn so important? I mean, you both still hear, as I do, oh, I'm really not on it. I don't really see the need. I don't understand why I need to be on it. Can you both talk about that for a minute?
Sure. So let me start. The interesting thing about LinkedIn is I think a lot of people still have the mindset from 2003, which is when LinkedIn launched. And if you have that mindset, you're living in 2003. And that mindset was that LinkedIn is the place you go when you're looking for a job. And that made LinkedIn really binary. And I was like, I have to have something there. I'll put it up, and I'm never going to LinkedIn again until something changes. Like I need a new job, or I just got promoted.
Right.
And that 2003 mind, and by the way, if you're living in 2003, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the governor of California, and the Concorde is still flying, and Friends is the #1 TV show. Right?
Wow, that really helps put me where
right.
2003.
I mean, you can see how far away that is from where we are today. The new mindset for LinkedIn, and people haven't really adopted this yet, is that LinkedIn is a place where I go to do my job better. And so it takes a lot of the pressure off from, it's all about me, or I need a job, or all those kinds of things that create a lot of anxiety in life. And it really puts it in a place where I can use this tool and be better at what I do.
Can you explain that? I teach about LinkedIn, but I don't say that. And you teach within corporations and organizations, which I love, that they will pay you to help their 1,000 employees do better on LinkedIn and personal brand better. Tell people how it actually makes them do their job better. How? Will you share with me?
Yeah. So here's the thing. The old LinkedIn was pretty much, it did 2 things. It was your online resume and your e-networking site. They've added 183 new features, all of which have to do with doing your job better. For example, LinkedIn groups. They are professional associations on steroids. You go to a professional association in your local city, there might be 100 or 200 people there. You go to a LinkedIn group, right? Same thing, focused on a certain topic. There could be tens or hundreds of thousands of people you could connect with. You can learn best practices. You can make connections for partnerships. You can become visible so that people want to come work for you, and you source the greatest staff for your team.
Right.
And the thing that companies are hiring me for, because it's a really important point, companies used to prevent people from being able to access LinkedIn while they were at work.
Right.
Today, they're encouraging them. And the reason is they know that if they can make social savvy people out of their talent, and those people are sharing content from the company with their connections, they will increase the visibility and the credibility of that content. People believe the content if it comes from an employee rather than from the standard communications channel. So I could give you the 810,000 things that are great about LinkedIn, but those are just a few of the really powerful benefits if you really change your mindset about what LinkedIn is.
I love it. Let me ask one other question that I hear constantly. People tell me I'm afraid to change what I've got. So we talk about, for instance, your title, your that headline I feel should not be your title. Because you are not just that job. You are much more than that job. But people say to me, if I'm playing around with all this, I'm 100% afraid that my colleagues and my boss and the leaders are going to think I'm trying to get out. What do you say? Oh,
I'm
got one, Ora?
I'm going to jump in
Tell
for a
us.
moment. All right. So there's this notion of hiding on LinkedIn, kind of like being there, but hiding. So what I have experienced is that so many people say, well, yeah, I have a LinkedIn profile, but they're half-baked, they're skeletal. So something is missing. So first you bring up the question like, people are afraid if they start changing it, people will think they're looking for a job. There is a simple privacy setting that you just click on so that your network is not informed if you make a change. A lot of people don't know about it. It's as simple as hitting privacy and one other thing.
Right.
No one will ever know, right?
Except, let me just be clear. It's not, I don't think they're afraid that they're going to see the process of change. They're going to see that I went from point A to point Z, and now I look completely different, and people are going to think she's revving it up to get another job.
Yeah, well, that's one explanation, but there's another explanation as well. You're revving up your personal brand, and your personal brand will only promote the corporate brand. So when you show up with confidence, when you show up with thought leadership or with expertise, that's a beautiful reflection on your company.
I so love that, but I think I'm also really asking, do you know of organizations that would be punitive about that? In other words, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't think 100% of corporations are as enlightened as you guys are.
Okay. So you are right. It's not 100% yet, but given the daily increase in the number of corporations who are understanding the value of having their employees active on LinkedIn, we're moving toward 100%. And it's going to feel like moments until we have all companies bought in. Companies now have their own personal pages. They want people to promote their posts, to share them, right? The only way you can do that is if your people are active on LinkedIn and they're showing up with strong personal brands.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing, because this is really the, it's the kind of, do we build a wall and keep our people in, right? It's communism, or do we tear down that wall and say, we're going to make things really great here. You can stay or you can And individuals, as employees, I think we need to say to ourselves, do I want to work for an organization that is so afraid that I'm going to leave that they're tying my hands? Or do I want to work for an organization that is putting all this stuff into my pocket, that giving me all this great stuff and expertise and resources and permission and asking me to do things with it? Which organization am I going to work for? And frankly, which organization is going to retain me? And I think that's the key. And I think organizations understand that engagement, retention, and attraction all have to do with how comfortable you are with your people being their own brands rather than, having to hide behind the corporate brand.
I've never read that, but I think what you're saying is that's an added criterion for, do you want to accept this job?
Yeah.
Is there anyone at that company who has their own personal brand that they're shining on? Is that right?
Sorry to jump in, but I just want to tell you, there's a statistic that says Gen Y people will, when they're thinking about a new job at your company, there are two measures that they value the same. One is the actual job they're being offered, and the other is how socially savvy the leader is that they're going to be working for.
No way. The boss, even the boss, or the CEO, like their boss, or
you know what? I shouldn't say that. I will find the exact statistic and get it.
Oh, we'll report it underneath. I love it. Oh, I love it. What you're doing is giving validation for what I know to be true, which is the more connected, the more we establish our own teachable point of view, the more we become curators of other content. Like, if I don't have anything to post, why don't I find what William and Ora are writing and repost that? Because I'm going to be a curator for great content. The more we do that, the more we're contributing at a higher level. Right? Oh, I love it. Now, let's go to the hiding piece. So, Ora, let's dig, I'm a trained therapist. I love to go there. What do you think most people are ashamed of, hiding, humiliated about, just afraid to put out there that it's showing as a gap on their LinkedIn experience?
So there's two things to think about here. First of all is why we're not putting complete profiles up there, and that fear of self-promotion. So let's talk about the first one first. Our profiles are incomplete for the most part. Why? And the reason is because it's hard. It is not easy to make a great profile. I mean, I work with brilliant senior executives, and they're struggling with creating an original headline, writing a summary in first person, particularly difficult for women, by the way. Right? Getting recommendations, connecting with the right people. They find it difficult. And of course, when you're a busy person with too much on your plate, it goes to the bottom of your do list, right? So there's the first thing of just, it's tough. But let's talk about this idea of self-promotion for a minute. And that relates to what we put in our headline, what we put in our summary, how we talk about our experiences. That relates to our confidence in asking for people for recommendations. So many professionals, and here I'll say women in particular, think self-promotion is a dirty word. But here's the funny thing, it's the successful professionals who know that when you stay quiet about your achievements and your accomplishments, or even your leadership or thought expertise, you're going to be overlooked.
Right.
So, and Kathy, this is something that you talk about with your audience all the time, and I love how you talk about it. To be recognized, you have to toot your own horn to a degree. And of course, William and I have a lot of tips to make that a little bit easier. Let me pause there.
Oh, I love it. I want to share this and see what you think. And I think we all come at it very much with the same mindset, but I think you all might have different language than I do about it. But I think William was just sharing our feelings about sales, selling ourselves versus self-promotion. I don't even like any of those terms. But you know what I do say to people, and I wonder what you feel about this. Oh, I could talk to you for hours. I think when you don't like your job, when you don't like who you are in the workplace, networking, connecting, self-promotion is impossible. Like I remember as a VP, I didn't want to network. What am I going to say? I don't like even who I am in doing it. But so let's talk about, I do say if you're really struggling to say anything positive, that's not about LinkedIn. That's about your experience in your work. And that's something you need to look at. But let's assume you kind of like your work and you want to come out there either to find another job or be recognized in your current job. I think that what people need to understand, in particular women, it's not about self-promotion. It's about speaking about what makes your heart sing about what you do. And and tell me what you think about this, but I don't advise people to put everything and the kitchen sink in their LinkedIn profile. Put the things you want to do more of down. Put the accomplishments that you want to have more of. And, what you want to attract more of in your life, that's what you emphasize. So if we could shift away from even thinking of it as self-promotion and talking about what makes your heart sing in the work you do, and how do I do more of it? Does that work? What do you think about all that?
Absolutely. And this ties to our favorite topic of personal branding. And I know William's chomping at the bit there to talk about what a personal brand is, because I know him well enough. So go ahead, William. I'll let
All
you
right, let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, and so I just want to talk about in the new book, Digital You, I talk about 9 career trends, and one is called brandscaping. Ooh. And what brandscaping is trimming off all the extraneous stuff and getting to a pure, potent version of you. And this is what you're talking about, right? If you put in there, you know what, I do accounts payable, and that's what I, do, and accounts payable this, but you hate accounts payable, guess what? The opportunities you're going to attract are going to be in accounts payable. So what you need to do is be comfortable getting rid of all the stuff that is not relevant to who you want to be, right? To the you moving forward. Even if you had a career in real estate, but you're not doing that anymore, don't tell me about it, because I don't have time to figure out what you're about. So potency and permanence is key. And one of the things that Ora and I have been working with is how can we come up with a formula for people to tell their story in LinkedIn, right? And anywhere, right? Their bio, but in LinkedIn, it's your summary, right? And so how do you tell it? And what you just said is absolutely brilliant, Kathy, because it's all about what are your passions? What gets you up? What's your purpose? What are your values? What are the things that are most important to you? So a typical summary from somebody who has not really thought about this the way that you just described it, it's going to be facts, accomplishment, period. And what we're saying, and what you so beautifully said, is you just need to fill that with, here's why I get up every day, and here's what I absolutely love to do, and here are the 3 things that are so important to me that I bring to work every day. And that's going to let someone connect with you on a much more human, emotional level, right? We don't get excited about a list of facts. We do get excited about someone who says, you know what? My favorite thing is to help people be successful. And as a leader at such and such an organization, I have this incredible team, and I get to make them do great stuff, right? That is going to make you want to get to know that person. And I think that's the distinction.
Right. And let me jump on that. One of the challenges that I use with some of the executives that I coach is to talk about themselves without mentioning their title or their company. Because I'll say, what do you do? Oh, I'm the VP of X at blank. Well,
I love this.
What exactly do you do? How do you bring value? What gets you up out of bed when the alarm rings? You mentioned earlier, Kathy, like people have these headlines with the default title and company. And while title and company can give you a lot of credibility, that's not enough. Who are you? What gets you going without that company? I'm working with an executive now who's, on his last gig. He's going to be retiring in a couple of years.
Wow.
So the company and the company name certainly contributes to the company and his title contribute to his credibility, but there's a lot more that he's going to do with his life in the world. So what are you? What do you do? What do you love to do? How do you bring value? Why do people love to be around you? What do they come to you for help? All those things are things that we can embed in both our headline and our summary and how we talk about ourselves when we meet our connections.
Oh my gosh, how fascinating. See the different language that you both have. I love it. I've never asked you this question. This is why I love this podcast, because it's like I'm learning what I need to know, every day. That's the question. Those are the questions I want to ask. But let me ask you this. I work with mid to high level women who are having success to some degree, but wake up and say, wow, this aspect has to change. Either I have no passion for it, but I'm great at it, or I have passion, but I'm not being treated well enough or making enough, all of that. You're probably working with executives who have different challenges, but let me ask, with the executives you're working with, are they able to do what we're asking here? Because the women I work with struggle with even saying what they're passionate about.
Yeah, and that goes back to something I said earlier. LinkedIn has challenged us. LinkedIn has challenged us by not just asking us for our name and our title and our company, but they're asking us for a headline. They're asking us to put our personal brand in a summary. They're asking us to do something attention-grabbing online. And it's a perfect challenge. And it's hard to answer it. And William and I have helped tons of people one-on-one, but we're getting so many requests like, write my headline, write my summary. We can no longer help every individual, but we still want to.
Right.
And that's why we've taken like our system, and we've worked really hard to put it into an offering for people to make it easier so that they have a template. They can follow, first I do this, then I do this. And if I put that and this together, I have that. I'm getting there. So that's we're on a mission to make it easier for people.
I see. So you would agree that even if you're working with someone who's very successful, who's had wonderful accomplishments that lights them up on the putting words to that, they may not be a writer. So putting words to that is hard for most people. Would you say that's the biggest challenge?
Language is tough for people, putting it together. You know, how do I capture this in words? Even when you're successful, somehow you're often unconsciously successful. You don't know what makes you successful. You need some time for self-reflection. You need some time to gather perceptions of others. You need some assistance in putting that into language. And often you even need the help to put it out there into the world. And that's what William and I love to do.
Oh, I love it. All right, now let's talk about...
Could I just add one thing here?
Please.
Because I think one of the biggest challenges I experience in working with people is people are afraid to be different. And, you know, and this, I know Kathy...
That's a tweetable.
Forever. I think there are two things that work against people, especially if they've been in the business world for a while. One is, this is how I've always done it. A resume was just a list of credentials, right? This new LinkedIn thing should only be just like that, right? So people aren't used to talking about their values and their passions and their purpose and things that are much more human and emotional. And so I think they're not comfortable with it. The second thing is, they see everyone around them, and some of these people, they're not willing yet to be, you know, where things are going. And they're saying they use their title in their job. They just have a list of credentials and accomplishments in their summary. So I'm gonna look weird if I write my LinkedIn summary in the first person. Mine's gonna be weird compared to everyone else's. And in the beginning, by the way, so we've been doing this LinkedIn first person thing for 7 years now. Back then, those were the pioneers. And when you would read it, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this summary's in first person. It was so weird. Like now it's moving there. Wow. But I think there are very few early adopters. And so people are kind of, I think they're like, look, I'm successful. All I've talked about is my accomplishments in the past. Great. And, you know, I want to fit in. I don't want to stand out. And don't you think, Kathy, that's a big...
When you said that, I got tears in my eyes, literally. And of course, I always go to the deep place, you know, like, Kathy, a butterfly is sometimes just a butterfly. It's not like some major universal shift. But you know what I heard when you said that? I think that some people might even be scared to talk about passion. Well, I've had a guy stand up and say to me in a group of 100 people, passion is bull, you know, forget passion. Like to even talk about what you value. People are afraid to even go to that emotional level, and especially if it's different from the other people that they work with. I think, you know, I got to write more about this. I mean, people really are afraid to be different, because for women, I think sometimes it's like, because that's going to shine a light on me, and I'm afraid that you're shining a light on me.
Yeah.
It's a deep concept.
And for women, can I say this, that like for women, they're working in a world where almost everybody at the senior level is an old white guy. Nothing against old white guys, but that's just who's there, right? And I think that you look and you say, all those people made it and they all behave this way. If I behave differently, it's going to be even harder because I'm already different by gender.
That's really true.
And so I think, but what I will tell you though, is the women that I've worked with who have been the most out there, like the really differentiated, they're the ones who make it, because they get noticed, they get acknowledged, they're recognized for the unique value that they deliver. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I think, by the way, women, are underrepresented in LinkedIn. The women in all other social media, they outnumber men in all of the platforms except on LinkedIn. So there's definitely reticence there in the work world, right?
I want to ask about this. I am on LinkedIn Profinder, so I've been selected. Are you guys?
Yes.
Where selected to get RFPs. You know what I find? So I get 50 of them a day in career coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, public speaking. I have to actually do the numbers, but it looks to me like it's one woman out of every 10 men. And so for people who don't know what it is, it's people going in and asking, I want to change my career, or I want to do this differently, and I would like to find a coach who does it. I want to understand, why is it one woman out of 10? That upsets me. Do you have any ideas about that? Do you find that?
I'm actually surprised by that, because women traditionally do seek help and support in ways that men don't. So I'm a little curious about that.
What I find is men are more confident in saying, yeah, it's time for me to get a coach. And I find that women tend to, and not all women, but they tend to hide and are more reluctant and reticent to say, I'm worthy of getting a coach. A lot of people will think they're not at the level. Who am I to get a coach? Oh, how interesting. Wow. And, I'm glad you talked about courage, William. I think it takes, finding brave is my world. It takes you being brave every day to say, I am going to go a different path. But those are the women that are going to thrive, because they're strong enough to honor themselves in what they believe and value and put that forward. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Personally, I think it is the key to success. In branding, there are three elements, right? Authenticity, really be yourself. Differentiation, be willing to stand out. Deb Dibb, who was a co-author of my last book, it says, work your quirks, right? Take those things that make you unique and don't hide them, right? We all want to kind of,
we're afraid to be different.
We're like everybody else. We're saming when we should be changing. And so, putting that stuff out there. And the third element is being compelling. And people are compelling not only because of credentials and accomplishments, they're compelling because they're likable. And so that and what makes you likable? When you talk about what you're passionate about, and you talk about what you value, and you talk about what your mission on this earth is, right? When you're much more human. We don't like robots. I guess I like my Alexa and my my Google Home, but I don't want to take them.
You don't want to, right?
Right. So I think that's the key thing we need to be thinking about, that likability piece.
Yeah, there's one more thing we haven't brought up. The people who are resistant to putting their quirks or their differentiators out there are often saying, well, I work for a conservative company. I'm a conservative guy. We don't do this here. We've never done it. But the thing is, we're talking about something different. We're talking about going digital. Our world is much bigger now. We can have more reach, right? We can have more connection. We can have more impact, right? Because our world is digital. So we have to redefine who our target audience is. It's not the people, in the little offices or cubicles next to you. It's much broader than that. And if you embrace that, like the world of opportunity falls on your lap. So in thinking about who am I writing for, it's not for, the person, in the office next to yours. It's for a much wider audience. And this is at a point in your career when you can step up into something more exciting, step up into sharing your expertise, sharing your thought leadership. So therefore, you do have to start putting yourself out there in a new way, telling people what makes you special, unique, differentiated in an authentic way.
Oh, I love it. All right. Now let's ask this. I happen to think that asking for recommendations is one of the bravest things we can do, and it's life-changing. I'm not kidding. I'm not being hyperbolic. I look at a lot of profiles and they don't have any, or they've given one. And I don't mean the endorsement of the skill. That's fine. And that's good. And you should be listing your 50 skills. But I'm talking about the written recommendation. Why are people, I know the answer, but I want to hear your language, I think. Why are people so scared to ask for them and even to give them? I mean, both of us, all of us are authors. Don't you find that a lot of people say, I'll write a blurb on your book, but you write it for me and I'll just sign off? But why are people so afraid to ask for a recommendation, do you think, on LinkedIn for it to be officially published? What do you think's going on?
Well, first I'll say I'm always shocked at how few recommendations people have. It's this element of a LinkedIn profile that adds so much validation to your claims.
Right.
I mean, you can say whatever you want about yourself, right? But what's really compelling is when someone validates what you say. So I'm always shocked that people ignore that section.
Right.
And I think people are afraid to ask. They don't know where to start. So one of the things we've done is we've created a 1, 2, 3 system. This is how you do it.
Beautiful.
To make it a little bit easier.
Wow.
I know fellow coaches don't have any recommendations. And saying you're putting your coaching out in the world. Don't you want people to know what kind of experiences others have with you, right? So that they can see if you're a nice fit with them. Right.
And you're so right. It's the language. We're used to our own language. I know how to write about myself, but it's what other people say, different words, different descriptors. And I want to give people an example right here. I did a webinar for 10 Swedish women in a kick-ass women's group. And you know, I get a lot of requests to do a lot of these things, and I have to say no. But for some reason, I said yes instantly. And the wonderful woman who founded it, Tina Pepik, said to me, and I'm sharing openly, you know, I think your presentation's great. Maybe you could power up the slides and design them in a fresher way. And I was like, okay. And on Canva I'm a big fan of Canva. Oh my God. I designed these slides with the help of my team. They're gorgeous. We gave the thing, it rocked. She said, you're kick-ass. Immediately I said, would you be open to writing a recommendation? Right then.
Yeah.
I think what are the components of that? One, I did a free event, and you know, I felt like that was fair to ask in return. Number 2, it was kick-ass. I can say that. Number 3, I thought that she would have a different way of talking about how I had impact. And that's how I broke it down. Any words about that? About when we should ask for a recommendation, how to do it? What do you think?
Well, first, I just want to talk a little bit about what you did, because I do something similar. If you believe in what you do, you want to share it broadly. And Kathy, you have a tremendous impact. More people, you know, should have a taste of the value that you can bring to them, and women in particular. And I think coaching is one of the biggest gifts that executives can get. It not only grows them individually, but it has this ripple effect on their entire team. So if someone says to me, like, your coaching changed my life, my impulse is not just like, can you tell the world about that? My impulse is, I want other people to hear that so they too can reach out and get the gift of coaching, right? I want to have more impact. I want more. So that's the way I phrase it, and saying, you know what, other people can benefit too, but they don't understand the experience. Would you be open? I don't say saying nice things about me. Would you be open to sharing your experience with coaching through a recommendation online? So you see, the angle is slightly different, and it's not say, can you extol my virtues on LinkedIn? Is, if this benefited you, I'm sure there's someone who needs it as well. Your words can share the gift. So that's just a little bit about the when. And I know William, jump in with our 3-step methodology for how to actually get them.
Well, and even before I do that, I think that one of the reasons that recommendations are so hard is, especially for people who are working inside organizations, is because the people they're asking them from are perceived to be, it's just like any hierarchy, right? How often do you go walk into the CMO's office or the whatever? It's that same kind of thing, that there's a distance between me and them, and I'm asking them for something, when the traditional way things work in a company is the senior people ask the people beneath them to do stuff. Right. And
also maybe they don't want, the senior people don't want to seem like they're having favoritism, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. And you don't know. And then you don't ever want them to say no.
Oh,
right?
gosh,
So this,
right.
you're brave, back to brave. Oh my God, they said no, they won't write one. What's wrong with me?
Oh,
And so why put yourself in the position of getting a no when, just avoid it at all. Just don't do it. And
right.
so I think that's part of it. I think a lot of other, there are other people who are just uncomfortable with hearing great things about themselves. Right. And so I think that there's it just makes them feel a little uncomfortable or awkward. If it just happened, I think everyone would be great with it. So your idea, both of you saying, make it happen when it happens, right?
Right.
So, hey, we just finished this assignment. If you would be willing, could you provide one? So I think timing is key. But if you have to go back to people, what Ora is referring to is what you want to do is make it as easy for them as possible, and you want to make sure you get it. So our first step in our process is don't reach out through LinkedIn. Most people don't pay attention to LinkedIn messages, right? How many? So Kathy, I don't know if your listeners know that. Kathy has 1 million people following her on LinkedIn.
911 to be specific.
How many?
911,000 to be
Oh, is that
exact.
all? I thought you were somebody.
All right. If you haven't connected with her on LinkedIn now, do it so we get it up to 1 million.
Yeah. No, and I mean, she's such a big deal at LinkedIn. They sent an entire film crew to her house. And made this big movie about it. It was like a dun da da dum kind of movie. It was really great.
Oh, you're very
anyway,
kind.
but sorry, I digress. But here's the thing. So you don't answer most of your messages that come in, Kathy, right? No one does. So our first step is to reach out an email and say, hey, listen, I loved working for you. I'm enhancing my profile. I'd love to send you a request. Step 2 is to.
Oh wait, let me just add one other thing there. If you can kind of paraphrase or even quote something they said to you recently, say, I was very touched by the words that you used in the meeting. You mentioned that I was a powerful communicator. So if you can
doing the work
begin, do the work for them. If you can
Gotcha.
kind of quote them or paraphrase them and thank them for that in the letter, then it's also helpful. Go ahead. Step 2. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, not only helpful, so here's the thing. It makes it easier for them, but here's the important point. You don't want a recommendation that just says, oh, this person's great, they walk on water. You want the recommendation to highlight the things that you want to be known for. So if you're really strategic or you're really creative or you're a really good relationship builder, whatever you're building your brand around, you want to put those words in their mouth. So they say, when so-and-so was an intern at my company, she was the absolute best at building relationships on our team. She knew everyone in the organization before she left at the end of the summer, right? That's going to help you build your brand if that's what you're trying to do. So any recommendation from somebody at an important company with a big title is good, but if what they put in there reinforces what you say about yourself in your summary and your experience, that's validating what you're putting out in the world. And so it makes it that much more credible.
Wow, you guys really know this stuff so well. It's so great. Now, I wish we had another hour, but we don't. But what do we leave?
What do you mean we don't?
Come back next week. Or let's have drinks. What is it that we have to leave folks with? Maybe the top 3 things that will get them moving. If there's someone who's hiding for any of these reasons, I don't feel worthy, I don't know what to say, I'm going to stand out, I don't even know what I want of all the things I do, I don't know what to feature. What are the first 3 things to do? Come to your amazing, join your amazing series, which we're going to talk about in a second. But if they're struggling on their own, what do they do?
Well, I'll go with step 1. Step 1 is, if you're not getting it done, kiss procrastination goodbye and get some support.
That's it.
Yeah, it's much easier. If you
That's right.
have some support to make it happen, you're more likely to make it happen. But I'll take a step back even from there. Here's the thing that people need to know. Your LinkedIn profile is your first impression. People are Googling you and your LinkedIn profile showing up in one of the top 3 spots. If you are not creating a profile that's reflective of who you are in the real world, then you are missing out on huge opportunities. And whatever people see, that is who you are to them. So your brand has moved online. And there's a concept called digital first. Your first impression has moved online. And so if you want people to meet you online the way they would meet you in the real world, you need to you need to get your profile going. And
I love it. I love it.
It's not a nice to have anymore. It's an absolute must.
And I'm going to add the third, which is my, swim lane sweet spot. If why you're hiding is you don't like what's going on in your life, in your work, and you don't like who you are in your work, that's not a LinkedIn issue. That's I need some help. And, my favorite quote in the whole world is Einstein's, you cannot solve a problem on the level of consciousness that created it. So that's why so many people I see struggling, because they're attacking it with their own consciousness, but they need a shift. They need to see how truly amazing they are, even if they're not using those skills in this moment. They need a pivot, or they need to reinvent their career. They need some change. But my goodness, with all of this help, if you're not finding you're able to do it, then there's another problem that you need to address. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Now,
this is what I love about you. This is your brand, right? You're one of the few people in this space, careers and leadership, that really, you have that expertise, right? Being a psychologist and bringing all this stuff to it, is you really kind of get into that deep stuff. And even everything you write, that's what I love about it. It's differentiated because you've infused it with that, figure out who you are.
Thank you. I'm feeling loved up all over the place here. Thank you.
I say you're not getting it done, so I'm going to help you get it done. You're not getting it done. Let's figure out why you're not getting it done.
I love that. That's it. I love it. But thank goodness we have all different approaches to the same issues, thank goodness. Now, where can people learn more? Where is this incredible LinkedIn series that they can take? Tell us where.
Yeah,
and
so
we'll
let me
link to
tell
it
you a
below.
little bit about this. We don't want anyone to go without a compelling, magnetic LinkedIn profile. It's not fair to yourself. It's not fair to your career. It's not fair to the people you work with. So we've taken our expertise from working with lots of people one-on-one, and we've created a video-based tool for you, and it's called Power Up Your LinkedIn Profile. So it has 4 videos. It has several downloadable, what we call blast sheets, that take you step by step.
What a gift.
Through a template, so that you emerge with a headline that is not a default headline, but that grabs your audience attention. It has the keywords that the people searching for you need. We take you through a system so that you get your summary done.
Wow.
What you need to do first, next, and last.
Oh,
We've pulled it together. We've kept the price super low, and it's available for all of you, right? You don't need to procrastinate anymore. So where you find out about it is on our site, careerblast.tv/power-up, as in power up your LinkedIn profile, power-up. I know Kathy, you'll include that below.
Definitely.
Right. And we've also, we started at a cheap price, but we actually cut it in half because we wanted to be affordable for every single person that we could possibly know. So it is $97. That's it.
Wow.
Right? And what we've done is we've also bundled it with 2 bonuses now, because we realized that we just wanted to add even more to make sure that people have everything they need. The 2 bonuses, one relates exactly to this conversation. It's how to receive raving recommendations on LinkedIn.
Wow.
So again, our step-by-step process to make it easier for you, so you know exactly what to write in the email, what to write in the LinkedIn request, how to say it, just to make it more comfortable for you. So we've put that in a success guide. It's one of the bonuses we're offering with Power Up Your LinkedIn Profile. And the other one is how to write a perfect LinkedIn summary.
Oh, wow.
We go over the basics in the video, but what we saw was that after watching the video, people wanted like a template, a paper template or a fillable online template that they actually can work through our advice on. So we've put that as a bonus. We just threw it into the package so that you have exactly what you need. And when you finish Power Up Your LinkedIn Profile, what you will have is you'll have the right kind of headshot. You'll have the headline you need. You'll have the summary. You'll know how to fill in all the experience sections so it highlights your impact, your results. You'll know how to get recommendations, and you'll know who to connect with and how, so that you can expand the reach and share the value that you bring every day.
I cannot wait to be an affiliate for this program and promote it like hell. I mean, people, I don't do heavy promotion on this podcast, but I don't know 2 people who know more about this topic than these 2 sitting right here with me, Ora and Williams. So please do check this out. I think it'll move you from I'm hiding or confused to holy cow, I'm rocking it on LinkedIn. And you know, the final word I'm going to leave everybody with, it's joyful. Like when I hear from people who say, oh, you know, your post was a life changer, or it doesn't have to be that, you know, magnanimous. Hey, what do you think about this? It's just a joyful experience to connect with people around the world. It's just great joy. So if you can't do it for any other reason, do it because it's fun as hell. I'll leave you on that note. Thank you so much for your time and your amazing work. So wonderful to be with you.
Thank you, Kathy.
It's a pleasure.
And thank you, William.
Make these 4 hours long so we could spend more time together.
We've got to make it a retreat. It's a 3-year retreat in Bali. Oh, folks, I really hope this is an infusion of finding brave, because it does take bravery. Who are we kidding? It does. But you've got it. You wouldn't be listening to a podcast called Finding Brave if you weren't brave. So we can't wait to hear. Check out the links below. Join this series. And you know what? Where I'm posting this, check it out on LinkedIn. Share with us your profile. Hey, folks, I took the steps Ora and William are sharing, and this is what I came up with. Share the results, and we'll be thrilled to congratulate you on those and get those out for you as well. All right, everyone, have a wonderful week. And thank you again, my friends. Talk to you soon.